Last week, I talked about some of the landmines right now on Underdog, players at their ADP that I want absolutely nothing to do with. This time of year, there is a lot of volatility in the ADP market, and you can take advantage of it. So let's focus on that today, some of the best values that you can get out there. I'm Dave Kluge with Footballguys, and I am here to help you find these values in Underdog drafts right now. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube page at youtube.com/footballguys, where you can see this and all of our other short videos throughout the offseason. You can also see the Audible, the Dynasty Show, the Mailbag Show, and everything else that Footballguys has to offer. So be sure to subscribe at youtube.com/footballguys. Now let's go ahead and dive in with some of my favorite values right now on Underdog. First, let's start off with Travis Etienne. He's getting drafted 52nd overall as the RB20. All the desirable traits that made us want Travis Etienne as a rookie are still there. He's a pass-catching machine, reunited with his college quarterback, and he's got first-round draft capital. And now with James Robinson presumed to be out for the beginning of the season, he has absolutely no competition out of the backfield. Of course, there is a little bit of risk that could linger with his injury that he suffered last offseason, but that risk is baked into his ADP. The range of outcomes for players who have suffered similar foot injuries is pretty wide and tough to predict. For some players, it was an absolute death sentence and they never saw another snap of football. For other guys, though, Julio Jones, for instance, he went on to have 5 straight years with 1,400 plus receiving yards after suffering this injury. So there's risk here that shouldn't be as ignored. As far as pure upside goes, though, Travis Etienne is arguably as much as any running back in the league, and he isn't reliant on an injury ahead of him on the depth chart to get those opportunities. He's already got it if he's healthy. He's getting drafted right now behind guys like Aaron Jones, Ezekiel Elliott, J.K. Dobbins, who I don't believe have anywhere near the upside that Travis Etienne is going to have in Jacksonville. As soon as a video comes out this offseason of Etienne running, catching passes, whatever it may be at camp, his value is going to skyrocket up into the second or third round. This is the opportunity where you can get him for dirt cheap and he can be an absolute game changer in best ball leagues this season. The next guy I want to talk about is another running back, and this is A.J. Dillon. He is currently getting drafted 82nd overall as the 27th running back off the board. Now, last year, Aaron Jones was one of my favorite targets. I've often compared him to Alvin Kamara with his pass-catching upside and his big playability, but when situations change, we have to adjust. Last year, Aaron Jones was injured in Week 10. He only missed 1 game, but he never really got his starting job back after missing that game. Prior to his injury, Aaron Jones was seeing 17 touches per game. Post-injury, he saw just 13.2 touches per game. Now, that doesn't sound huge, but A.J. Dillon's touches jumped from 10.2 a game to 16.5 per game, which is more than Aaron Jones was seeing despite coming back from the injury. And what A.J. Dillon did with that opportunity was equally as exciting as the extra touches. He had 6 touchdowns in 8 games. He was more involved in the passing game. He saw the bulk of the red zone work, and his snap count skyrocketed every single week. It looks like Green Bay is heading towards a pretty frustrating backfield committee like we saw during the Jamal Williams years. When faced with a situation like that, I typically like to go after the better value. Aaron Jones right now is getting selected 41st overall as the 16th running back off the board. So why pay up for a premium for Aaron Jones when you can wait 4 rounds and get somebody that is expected to see just as much, if not more touches, and get the bulk of the red zone work? Take advantage of that gap right now, because as the offseason progresses, I expect those ADPs to tighten up just a little bit, as Aaron Jones should slide down and A.J. Dillon should slide up. Something to remember about A.J. Dillon is that he is still just 23 years old. He is the heaviest back in the league. He is an absolute freight train, and he showed immense improvements in the passing game as a year 2 running back. He is set to explode next year. If Aaron Jones is there, he's still going to have some big weeks just because of the touchdown upside. And if for whatever reason Aaron Jones has to miss some time, A.J. Dillon is going to be a locked and loaded RB1. Get him now while you can for probably the cheapest he's going to be the entire offseason. The last guy I want to talk about, I could sum up simply by saying all rookies. We see this every single year where rookies pre-draft are at a huge value, and then as soon as the draft ends in April, they all shoot up draft boards. For whatever reason, fantasy managers are scared of uncertainty, and not knowing where these players are going to land causes managers to be scared. But regardless of where they land in the draft, they are going to appreciate in value. So grab him now because he's going to go up. And the guy that I want to talk about specifically that seems like a huge value to me is Drake London. He's getting drafted 92nd overall as the wide receiver 44. Like I said, fantasy managers are typically scared of risk and the chance that he gets drafted to maybe a less than perfect landing spot. And because of that, managers are just scared to death to hit that draft button next to any rookie's name. But Drake London specifically is a guy that I am really excited about. He's drawing comps everywhere from AJ Green to Mike Evans, but what we can all agree upon is that he is a very unique talent in his own right. He's tall and fast and a little bit on the thin side, but he is great at grabbing those jump balls deep down the field. He saw a huge breakout last year at USC. He had over 1,000 receiving yards and a mind-numbing 3.5 yards per route run. That is ludicrous if that isn't a metric that you pay attention to. Like I mentioned, every rookie is a value this time of year, but London at wide receiver 44 is my favorite value at the moment. Just to put this into perspective a little bit, last year pre-draft, we knew that Jamar Chase was going to be a top 5, top 10 pick, and he was getting drafted in the 7th round. After the Cincinnati Bengals drafted him, which some people had issues with because of T. Higgins already being the alpha there, he still got pushed up into the 3rd round of best ball drafts. That is a 4-round jump with a less than perfect landing spot. So don't be scared off by rookies pre-draft. Take advantage of going against the grain and reaping the benefits while you can right now. Thanks for checking this out. Just a reminder, I am Dave Kluge. I'm going to be bringing you these videos every single week. Subscribe to the YouTube page at youtube.com/footballguys if you haven't already, and I will catch you next week.